Hello, fellow Rotarians. I'm Cedric Hill, and it's my distinct honor to serve as your club's president for the Rotary year 2022-2023. Rotary was started in 1905, built on the vision of Paul Harris, a Chicago attorney where professionals with diverse backgrounds could exchange ideas and form meaningful relationships. Rotary Club of Columbus has a rich history beginning in 1915. Over the years, our club has continued to grow to nearly 300 members who continue to find ways to make our community stronger and better. With our makeup of members from a full spectrum of leaders, we are postured to continue this great legacy. In the words of Paul Harris, whatever Rotary may mean to us, to the world, it will be known by what we achieve. As we round the corner on 2 years of a pandemic and turmoil in our nation, once again, Rotary rises to the occasion with a design and an approach from a humanitarian perspective. This year's focus, Imagine Rotary, lends one to think, as Rotarians, people of action, what we as individuals may create, and what we as Rotarians across the globe, what we may impact. As we move into the next year with the challenges our world faces, I'd like to call us to be a club of even more action, impacting our community, nation, and world with the same fierceness and intention Rotary has always exhibited. Thank you for your service to Rotary. This is our home club. To the community and world that we face, let's together imagine Rotary. Good afternoon and welcome to the July 27th meeting of Rotary Club of Columbus. I'm Cedric Hill and elated to be the president of this club for this upcoming year. Join me as we offer our pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we would call on Wayne Anthony to give us an invocation according to his faith tradition. Wayne.
Thank you, President Cedric. Let us pray. Oh God, as we gather here in this place, we gather as individuals, as members of families, as members of organizations, and as members of the community. We pray for your divine influence, inspiration, and direction that we might be agents of goodwill, of truth, of faith, of encouragement in our individual lives, family life, organizations, and then for the greater community. Continue to bless, direct, inspire, and help. We pray it in your name. Amen. Amen. Don't forget the cans. All of the cans that you can do.
Thank you, Wayne. You may be seated. We'd like to call on Ben McMahon that will give us our news for today. Ben, if you would come.
Thank you, President Cedric. Here's a look at your headlines. Stocks rise ahead of Fed decision. The Federal Reserve is expected to raise its benchmark interest rate by 0.75 of a percentage point for the second straight meeting in an effort to tamp down inflation that's been running a 4-decade high. U.S. stocks opened higher this morning ahead of the Fed's rate decision, and tech shares rose after Microsoft and Google parent Alphabet on Tuesday afternoon reported earnings that were better than invested fear. Boosters targeting COVID Omicron variant may be available earlier than expected. As COVID is starting to become more serious than a cold or flu, most people younger than the age of 50 aren't eligible for a second booster. In response, the FDA is considering opening up eligibility for second boosters for all adults, but letting more people get boosted with the original vaccine now could interfere with plans to boost them with the updated, hopefully more protected vaccines in the fall to blunt the toll of the winter surge. In response, the FDA is trying to get Pfizer and Moderna to make those shots available even sooner, possibly as soon as September. Restaurant Week in Columbus, Georgia. This week in Columbus is Columbus's Restaurant Week. 7 days full of different menus and foods for the community to indulge in. If you've never taken a part in Restaurant Week, you're in for a treat. Over 20 locally owned restaurants have joined this year, creating a preset menu for you to choose an appetizer, entree, and dessert for a set price. Eat, drink, and be full and support your local economy this week by eating your favorite locally owned restaurant. Your weather in Columbus is hot and humid. You can expect partly cloudy skies with a high of 94. And I'll leave you with a fun fact about how quickly technology advances. On this day in 1949, the world's first jet-propelled airliner made its maiden test flight in England. This was only 46 years after the Wright brothers made their famous first flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. and it would only be another 20 years before we would put a man on the moon. Thanks and have a great day.
Thank you, Ben. And we would call on Past President Lori would acknowledge our visitors and guests today.
Thank you, President Cedric. Wow, that sounds good. Fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure to introduce our visitors and guests today. If you would stand when I call your name so we can recognize you. Rotarian Johnny Johnson has with him Van Ellison. Van, nice to see you. Van is the the president of the Valley Rescue Mission. Kent Ilgis has with him Patrick Steed. Patrick, where are you? There you are. Patrick is a manager at Cartoons. And David Ranieri has a superstar with him, right? His daughter Anna, who is a sophomore at Georgia Tech. Welcome, Anna. And Ron Williams has with him Craig Burgess. Craig, where are you? Craig is the general counsel at CSU. Welcome, Craig. Jimmy Elder has his son, Johnny Elder, who is with Morgan Stanley. Johnny, it's always good to see you. President Cedric Hill has several guests with him. Let me just introduce them in the order I have them here. First of all, Tanaya Stecker. Tanaya, where are you? Good to see you. Tanaya is the mobile market director for the food mill on 2nd Avenue. So welcome. We have three particular guests that are here with President Cedric: Nia Williams, Dana Ash, and Lakeitha Ash. They are all here with the Columbus, Georgia Reloaded, which is a new nonprofit initiative that's a community collaboration to address some of the issues in the 31903 zip code. So thank you for all you do, and thank you for being here. And last but certainly not least, President Cedric has with him Woody Hughes Jr. Woody is the state 4-H program leader at Fort Valley State University. So welcome to all of our visitors, and we hope that you will come back and see us. Thank you.
Thank you, Past President Lori. Each week, we recognize a soldier in commemoration of a very active and well-renowned member of our club, Ralph Puckett. So at this point in time, we would ask Dick Nunberg to come and give us our Ralph Puckett Soldier of the Week.
Thank you very much, President Cedric. Before I do, in line with what Ben said, I just want to also mention today is the anniversary of the day the Army bought its first aircraft from the Wright brothers after a flight over Fort Myer, Virginia. I say that in honor of Andy, and because that started the Army Air Corps, and some of us still call his branch the Army Air Corps. Staff Sergeant Jesse Ball is originally from Moultrie, Georgia. And after he graduated from high school, he married his wife, Christy, and they started putting out babies, and he said, I got to make a living. So he joined the Army. And he came to Fort Benning, did his basic training and his one-station unit training in the armor branch. He's a cavalry scout. He has been stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, with the 4th Infantry Division, with whom he deployed twice to Afghanistan. He has been stationed at Fort Stewart and, I'm forgetting, Fort Bliss? Where? Fort Lewis. Fort Lewis. And here at Fort Benning, he is the operations NCO and the driver for General Felty, the commandant of the Armor School. He and his wife, Christy, have been very successful. They have 3 daughters and a son. The son being the youngest, I accused him of keeping on trying until he got one, and he admitted it. So, and he plans to be here for a while. We're very proud to have him with us. We thank you for your service, and in honor of your service and recognition, we have for you a certificate for the Colonel Ralph Puckett Soldier of the Week, and he now knows who Ralph Puckett is, a Rotary coin, a challenge coin, that you need to keep with you forever and ever. Passport to the arts for you and Christy. Do any of your kids babysit yet? Not yet. Not yet, but you need to find one, because you have tickets for the 2 of you to the River Center for the Performing Arts, the Columbus Symphony Orchestra, the Pay exhibits at the National Infantry Museum, Columbus State Theater, and the Springer Opera House. And so there's 5 nights out over the next year, and a book for you, Words for Warriors by Colonel Ralph Buckner, inscribed to you. And we thank you for your service. Please join me in welcoming the President.
Thank you, everybody, for having me as a guest.
Staff Sergeant Ball, we'd just like to say thank you again. Welcome to our club and welcome for being here. And we have great respect for you and your comrades and what you offer for us as support for our nation and great leadership you have. So when you go back to your comrades, let them know that we appreciate you and we appreciate them and all that they do. Thank you again. Let's celebrate him again. We have just a few announcements. Tomorrow, July 28th, we'll have our in-person happy hour from 5:30 until 7, and that'll be at Wild Wings Cafe up on Whittlesey Boulevard. And we want to thank Columbus Tech. I think Ms. Martha is here from Columbus Tech. We want to thank them for the RLI training that will come up on August the 13th. And for those that are still haven't registered, you have until August the 5th to do that. And we'd love to have a great showing from our club here in Columbus. And there's great information that is provided during those conferences itself. So we just want to remind you of that. And at the very back, again, we want to remind you that Trip Wade and the Wade Companies has the Rotary Shirts. The shirts are actually here. So you'll be able to see the shirts, what they look like, place an order, and the thing that is key to them is they want us to make sure we understand that $5 of each purchase that you make with the shirts themselves goes to the Rotary Foundation. So we ask that you would support that. At this point in time, what I'd like to be able to do is to say thanks to Wayne Anthony, who brought us our invocation, and in good timing, we'll ask David Lewis to bring us our program. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Cedric. I have the pleasure of introducing today's program, and a friend of mine, Ronzell Buckner. He is a lifetime resident of Columbus, Georgia, and has been a community leader his whole life, as well as a youth advocate and mentor. He started the Turnaround Columbus initiative in 2005 to address the decline he was witnessing in his community, which happens to be Carver Heights and the Bottoms, historically black neighborhoods that have been redlined and disinvested for the past 100 years. Ronzell Buckner lives in the census tract of the project, is a business leader and lifelong entrepreneur who has built and run 5 different small businesses in his lifetime. For 20 years, he has also trained small business owners throughout the South as the educational director for a hair care industry company. He has mentored countless young people through his businesses and community work. He is a passionate community organizer and activist who is responsible for leading the Carver High School renovation. He was the co-chairman for the 2020 East Blos Committee for the school district, and has also been a leader in the war on drugs in the Carver Heights community, where he trained drug fighters to eliminate drug activity in communities across the South. He has run youth programming, including a youth-run storefront to employ young people who are engaged in drug activity, a farm stand, a tutoring program, a police youth mentorship program, and regularly hosts community dinners and conversations. He has just been recognized by Historic Columbus for his work in developing the Martin Luther King Jr. Outdoor Learning Trail, which celebrates local African-American heroes, and his work commemorating Thomas Brewer, a prominent African-American physician. His latest project, known as the Victory Farm, is the culmination of his life work and is driven by his passion to invest in our youth and their long-term success to reclaim and rebuild our communities. Please welcome to the podium, Mr. Ronzell Buckner.
Good morning. Well, it's afternoon now. As I was listening to Dr. Lewis introduce me, I was looking around because I was wondering who was he talking about. It's an honor to be here to speak with you. I have lived in Columbus, Georgia all of my life. Graduate of George Washington Carver High School, and have worked with George Washington Carver High School since graduating from that. I opened my first business here when I was 17 years old. I worked for Columbus Bank and Trust Company when they were delivering money in Volkswagens, and I was one of the drivers. So I know my city, and I love my city, and I love my community, and I love my people. The Martin Luther King Outdoor Learning Trail was put there as an initiative through Turnaround Columbus. So you were given an opportunity to see some of the contributions that African Americans have made to this city to make it the great city that it is. When I first started that particular project, the first organization in Columbus to agree with the idea was Midtown. Miss Ann King was the president of Midtown at that time. The Martin Luther King Outdoor Learning Trail basically had markers on it, approximately every 1.5 to 2 miles apart, talking about African Americans in our city. It runs from Macon Road, right now downtown to 10th Avenue, but the trail runs all the way down to the river now, to Bay Avenue. And we're going to extend markers to Bay Avenue. But as I was listening to this young man here in the military, and as he was getting the recognition that he truly deserves, I thought about one of the markers. This marker is located directly as you come out of the driveway of the not the Martin Luther King, but the Muskogee County School District driveway. It tells you where Fort Benning started at, the first site of Fort Benning, Georgia. And that site is there on Macon Road. And when you reach markers, and as you travel the trail, when you read the marker, then look up and you'll be looking at directly what you're reading about. So go read that marker, young man. Carry your family. I'm here today to talk about a project that we're doing, Turnaround Columbus. The Martin Luther King, George Washington Carver Victory Garden. There's a purpose for every project that Turnaround Columbus do. It's to make our city better, make our community and our people in our city more knowledgeable of our city, and to also to draw people to our city in order for our city to benefit from the projects that we introduce. We now have people coming to Columbus, Georgia just to tour the Martin Luther King Outdoor Learning Trail. We are doing a 10-acre farm on the Martin Luther King Outdoor Learning Trail. As I speak, we have people there working now. Most of the people that work on the Martin Luther King, on the George Washington Carver Victory Garden, are kids. Because there's no secret, we have a lot of violence in our community. And I always have said we start trying to get things under control too late. In order to get our city to be basically feel safe for visitors to come and for them to come, we're going to have to get it under control. This is the purpose for starting this farm. And I'm working with elementary school kids out at J.D. Davis School. And I thank Dr. Lewis for giving us the opportunity to do this. We're doing this farm with partners. One of the partners have a representative here now, Mr. Hughes, Mr. Woody Hughes. Mr. Hughes is here basically today to go with me after we finish here to take a look at some buildings that Fort Valley is thinking about locating the 4-H office here in Columbus. They have already planted an orchard of persimmons, an orchard of muscadines, an orchard of scuppernadimes, orchard of blueberries, already in the farm now. The kids from J.D. Davis and the kids from George Washington Carver High School have planted 2 seasons of crops. And these kids are out working now as I speak, which I would normally be out there with them. But Mr. Hill likes me to come speak. And you don't turn Mr. Hill down too often. But in order to get what we want to accomplish here in our community, we're going to have to get the family unit back in my community. And the way that I'm working to do that is by training the children first, and then let the children and the seniors within the community train the parents. See, we're dealing with not just this generation or the last generation, we're dealing with about 15 to 20 generations and behind them. I was in the farm last week and we were picking some collards. And this lady, she had to be about 50 years old. I asked her, I said, "You want some collard greens?" She said, "No, I really don't know how to cook them." Well, that's the purpose of putting a kitchen on this farm. Because we were going to teach the young kids how to cook collards. Because the parents can't teach them. Because most of the parents don't know. This is the poorest community in this city. The average income in that community is $14,000 a year. If you ride through the community, there's a lot of salvage places in the community. So what we're going to do is basically go out into that community and we're going to get the seniors out of the community to give us recipes if they want their recipes to live on after they are gone. And we're going to put them in a computer bank in this kitchen. And while they are living, we're going to invite them to come in to teach the kids. Once the kids are taught, then what we're going to do is bring the parents in and let the kids cook the meals for the parents. This is how you bring unity back. This is what this farm is doing. We're going to give away crops to people that in the community that cannot afford to purchase crops. We're living in a food desert in this area. And we got to address this. Because if we don't address it, we're going to continue to have high rates of high blood pressure, high rates of diabetes, high rate of obesity. But we can stop it. There's a poem that George Washington Carver used to listen to all the time. And see, a lot of people don't understand that George Washington Carver spent a lot of time in Columbus, Georgia. That's why that school is named George Washington Carver High School. That's why the community is named George Carver High Community. Because he came from Tuskegee to Columbus to work with Mr. Tom to perfect the peanut. But George Washington Carver used to listen to a poem. And if you go to Tuskegee Institute and go to George Washington Carver Museum, that poem is study playing today. And it goes like this. You must say where you want to go, how much you will study the truth to know. God has equipped you for life but he lets you decide what you want to be. Courage comes from within. The man must furnish the will to win. So figure out yourself, my lads. You were born with all of the greats have had. With your equipment, they all began. Get hold of yourself and say, you can win. We need you. We need your help. We need funding. We need equipment. We need hands. We need bodies. We can win, but we must work together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ronzell. I think we had a presentation. Can we run through? It's not working. Ryan says. So what I'd like for you to be able to see is some of the pictures of. Would you take a minute to kind of sort of describe what they're looking at?
I'm sorry, I forgot that. Sorry. Okay. Next presentation, please. This is the purpose, and I explained to you the purpose. We're going to teach the kids math and science and agriculture on this farm by teaching them how to grow food. Next slide, please. This is basically an overview. A company out of Columbus, Ohio, heard about the idea and the vision, and they called and said, let us put this together for you. Let us put it together for you. It won't cost you a dime. Next presentation, please. Next presentation, please. This is basically the field. This is a slab of concrete. On that slab of concrete, when crops start coming in, we'll have an open market there. See, because some people don't have vehicles. The elderly don't have vehicles to get downtown to a market. So we're going to have an open market, and all of the crops will come out of the farm. We're going to let the kids run the market because we're teaching them how to own and operate their own business. And this is their first step. Next slide, please. This is basically showing the same thing, but with a drainage on the side of it. Next slide, please. The principle of this farm is basically to make Columbus better. This is it. Next slide, please. This is the West Field. Around that field, this is the old football field there at J.D. Davis, which is just there, but we're going to take that and we're going to make a classroom out of it. We're going to be planting fruit trees, vegetables, and flowers. We have a flower garden and all. We got the hoop houses coming in, so we have hoop houses and all in the farm also. Next slide, please. This is showing the Martin Luther King Outdoor Learning Trail, which goes right directly by the farm. Next slide, please. There, that's the east field. I believe the first one was the west. This is the east field. This is the football field. This is the one that we're basically working on now. And we need help by breaking the soil up because the soil is a clay base. And we want to get that clay base because we're losing plants because the water cannot soak down through that clay, and the plants are drowning in water. So what we want to do is get some topsoil in. We want to get some heavy equipment out there. So if someone out here knows someone with heavy equipment, the school district is looking and to see how they can help, then we need your help. If you're working on a job and you have a topsoil that you want to get rid of, bring it to the Martin Luther King, George Washington Carver farm so we can use it. We'll break the clay up, we'll add topsoil. Break the clay up, add topsoil until we can get it to where we want it to be. Next slide, please. This is basically the entire gathering of we're going to have, it'll be a fire pit on the inside of the farm where people in the community will come together and they'll talk about problems within the community. We have people that kids have committed suicide. They'll be talking to parents as to what to look for, to helping them, people that have had these type of problems, helping them to work through those type of problems. So we're going to be reaching everybody within that community. And this is not only, let me say this is not only just for that community, this is for the whole city. This is for every student in Muskogee County School District. This is for every citizen in Muskogee County. Do we have another slide after that? Another slide, that's showing the community gardening. That's the fire pit that I was just talking about in the learning center. We're going to have people talking about how you're supposed to deal with people, kids to raise. We got another slide. We should have a slide of the kitchen. That's the outdoor teaching kitchen there. Now, Midtown is working with us very closely with this. Midtown is working with us very closely. If you want to make a contribution, then you can put your name in the form. We had a kid that committed suicide, and we're putting a snap bed in the farm, and that snap bed will be named in his honor. So you can make donations like that. You can make a donation, and then if you want to put something on that donation, you can. The teaching kitchen, as I say, Midtown is working with us on that. Is there another slide, please? This is a picture of the open market. This is what your open market is going to look like downtown. It'll be so other farmers like Keith Sims up in Bibb City can bring some of his crops if he want to, or if Miss Amos want to bring some of her crops from out on the other side of South Columbus, if they want to. It's just, this is a Columbus project. Other slide, please. Okay, that's the same slide, it's just different. These are people coming up to the outdoor store, purchasing fruits and vegetables from the kids in the market. This is a dining area. You'll be able to come out and have meals like this, and it would be cooked in the kitchen. Okay, next. This is an overview of the garden and all, and the fire pit. Okay, I believe that's the fire pit, and I think that's just about it. Cedric.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we have a couple more minutes. We have microphones. Are there questions of any type for Mr. Buckner? Ms. Buckner, would you stand by? Because we do have a few questions.
When you have a garden, you need to have bees around to pollinate. Do you plan on having any bee colonies and teach them about honey collection as well?
Yes, sir. We have bees in the farm already. We have approximately two. Thank you. The question was about bees. There's a gentleman that have came out that runs a bee farm, and we have 2 boxes of bees already, 6,000 bees in the farm already. We collected our first honey week before last, 2 jars of honey week before last. They're going to add 6 more bee boxes to those two, so we'll have 8 bee boxes all total, to answer your question, sir. Thank you. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You said they're gonna have a kitchen, they're gonna teach the kids how to.
Microphone's coming.
I'm sorry. You said that. My name is Stanley. You said that they're gonna have a kitchen. How often will they feed the neighborhood? Like, growing up, we had big Sunday dinners. I come from a family of 11. We always had a big Sunday dinner. That brought that family together. So is this something gonna happen on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, every 6 months when they feed the family?
The kids will feed the family probably about 3 times. People will be able to rent, to book the farm. See, because the farm must make money in order to continue to go. So they would be able to book the farm. See, because we pay the kids. You know, the kids that are out there working now, we pay them to have a little change in the pocket. The drug dealers pay them. So, you know, we got to, if we're continuing to think with this brain that got us in this situation, we're not going to get out of it. We got to look at new visions and new ideas. So we pay these kids, and we're teaching these kids. And we want to get the medical hospitals involved, because when they walk through that farm, I want every row in that farm to have a sign in front of it saying, if you got high blood pressure, eat me. If you got high blood pressure, don't eat me. It's simple, because everybody thinks because you eat a vegetable, you're eating healthy. But some vegetables produce more salt than others. Some produce more sugar than others. So we got to teach the community and teach the kids, because when the kids are involved, everything is going to stay safe and everything will stay intact. Nothing will be torn up because they have an investment in it. I think we have another question.
Yes, sir. How many kids do you have working there approximately?
Right now, we have about, let's see, we get kids from the Housing Authority. We got 6 kids from there. We got kids from, well, George Washington Carver School now is closed for the summer, so we didn't get kids from there. We had about 8 or 9 kids working through the summer. Any other questions?
Can you give us an address where we can find this farm?
You can find the farm on Shepherd Drive. It's 1822 Shepherd Drive. It sits behind Marshall Middle School and J.D. Davis Elementary School. And I'm there in the morning from 8 o'clock in the morning until 12 with those kids and with my helpers that help me with the farm and things like that. If you want a special visit, then call me and I'll come.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you again, Mr. Ronzell. And a token of our appreciation for your coming and presenting today, the club will actually put a children's book in our local library and graft it with your name on it. So we want to thank you again. Join me again in celebrating this guy with such great passion. Such great passion for this community. I'm sorry?
Might be some sweat equity.
Yes. Yes. No other questions? Okay. We'd like to just give you a reminder. Today's program will actually be on our Facebook page, and you will also be able to find it on YouTube. Reminded again that the shirts are in the back for those that would want to purchase a Rotary shirt. And of course, $5, the key to it is $5 toward that purchase go toward the Rotary Foundation. And next week's program will be our football forecasters. I think we're very familiar with that. And we want to end by asking Wayne Anthony if he would come back and lead us in our 4-way test. Wayne, if you would come.
Will you stand with me and join in all the things that we think, say, or do, is it true? Is it fair? Will it build goodwill? And is it beneficial to all concerned? Mr. President.
Thank you so much. I think Mr. Buckner has some handouts and things that you'll probably get when you're leaving. If there's a desire to participate in any actionable items further from that, we're going to actually come to the club and ask for probably a day that we'll go over and do some work with you and kind of put in some sweat equity. But if there's no further business for the club itself today, we stand adjourned.